שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, פסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו והגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ani L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. What does it take to get you fired up? Not upset or agitated, but fueled with passion and energy, ready to move forward with a project, an assignment, a dream. In this week's Torah portion, Tzav, we are told that the priest must make sure to attend the fire on the altar. It is a ner tamid, an eternal light. As we read in chapter 6, verse 5 of Leviticus, the fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it, to kad bo, not to go out. Every morning the priest shall feed it wood, laying out the burnt offering. The responsibility is huge and strenuous. To keep the fire stoked, watching it overnight, this is one of the most essential tasks of the priestly class. But Rabbi Alexander Z. Friedman sees this responsibility not only as a physical obligation, but rather as a commandment of intention and rejuvenation. As he teaches, typically we read the phrase tu kad bo as a fire shall be kept burning on it, as the requirement to stoke the physical flame on the altar. Yet the Hebrew word bo doesn't have to mean on, it can also mean within. Hence the verse may be understood to mean the fire of the altar shall be kept burning within him. That is, the zeal of the sacrifice is to be kept burning within the priest to whom the commandment is addressed. The work we do, the responsibilities we bear are great and important and often tiring. And yet our sacred tasks require that we keep our intentions in focus, that we find ways to stoke the flame of purpose and passion in our lives. As we make ready to celebrate Shabbat, take a deep cleansing breath and consider how do you keep that flame burning inside of you. Peace descends upon us as we get ready for our Shabbos rest. May our time together May we use our time together as the billow that stokes our eternal flame within. We begin on page 3 in our prayer books as we light that fire, that Shabbos light. It's my pleasure to welcome Sarah Rowley to offer the readings before our candle blessings.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Amen.
Please join me in Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'avohu v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrei kodesh, zecher l'yetziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kirashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim.
We continue our service on page 12 as we welcome Shabbat with song L'chun Radona Ladonai from Psalm 95.
L'chon eronena, yai lai 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 lai, l'Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Nariya, yai lai 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 turn to page 16 for Zamru Lo as we sing praises to God.
Join with us on page 20 so that we can welcome Shabbat, welcoming that Sabbath bride, singing L'Chadodi. We sing verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9, and when we reach verse 9, B'Avi V'Shalom, we rise as a congregation. We face the entrance of our sanctuary, welcoming that Shabbos spirit to join us, which we only make real when we sing together as one. So whether you're joining us here in the Wolf Sanctuary, joining us on live stream from your own sacred space, we're so happy you are here to help us make Shabbat come alive. Sing with us.
Shamor v'zachor
turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Let them know you are glad they're here. We continue on page 26 with the Chatzi Kaddish as we remain standing through the Shema. On page 30, we continue with Ma'ariv Aravim, praising God for the gift of creation. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chokhmah poteah sha'arim, uvit vuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, uma'avdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. On the top of page 33, we read together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Please join me on page 36 with the Haftarah. בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet. On the bottom of page 39, we read responsively our prayer for redemption. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Continue together on the bottom of page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. We join together in Vishamru on page 44.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
We rise for the Amidah beginning on page 46.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Kol Melech Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevii Geulah Livnei Bneihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh Kol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim הקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. We continue together at the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. As we turn to page 57, we look at our Hatimah, our last line in Hebrew, as I share with you a reading from elsewhere in our prayer book. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. And this is what we do in our prayers. Together, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levarecha b'ira na'avod. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. On page 61, we join together in our prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. As we've prayed for peace in our world, we think of those who are looking for that peace, for that wholeness, those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of those listed on our order of service, or if you are joining us on live stream on your screen. We add to those names those which are in our hearts as we whisper them aloud now. We turn to page 253 for Misha Barach.
Help us find the courage to make take a moment for your own silent prayers. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within.
On this Shabbat Tzav, I'm delighted to welcome up Corey Palmer to offer a Devar Torah. Corey is the chair of our membership committee and a member of our board of trustees and a lover of Torah, and he is going to share some of his own Torah truths this evening.
Shabbat Shalom. Today is Shabbat Hagadol, in addition to being Shabbat Tzav. Before I go into speaking more about Parashat Tzav, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the traditions surrounding Shabbat Hagadol. The Shabbat directly preceding the pilgrimage festival of Pesach is called Shabbat Hagadol, the Great Sabbath. As with most things Jewish, there are so many fascinating things about Shabbat Hagadol, but I wanted to point out a few things that I thought were especially interesting. There is a special Haftarah reading of the book of Malachi. There is a custom to recite the Haggadah in the afternoon of Shabbat Hagadol to prepare for the Seder. Some attribute the name Shabbat Hagadol to the length of the unusually long Devar Torah, customary on that day. Excited? 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 It actually shouldn't be too much longer than normal. I don't think it'll be anything other than a typical length Devar, but I am looking forward to reciting the Seder tomorrow, Haggadah tomorrow to prepare myself for the Seder. That was something cool that I learned. Preamble aside, the portion this week, Tzav, continues where we left off with God's instructions imparted to Moses regarding the temple ritual as it pertains to sacrificial offerings made for purification from sin and guilt offerings, but also offerings of thanksgiving for well-being and free will offerings. In a modern world removed from the sacrificial system, what can we glean from God's instructions? After the destruction of the Second Temple, the rabbis had to determine what would take the place of the korbanot, the offerings at the temple. In terms of expiation, we see this in our modern Judaism with the solemn contemplation of Cheshbon HaNefesh, the accounting of the soul in the month of Elul, the soliciting of our friends and families for forgiveness as we approach the days of awe, the penitential ponderings of Slichot, and the powerful ritual observances of Yom Kippur. The communal confession Vidui, recited on Yom Kippur, are public penance, the substitute for the burned offering at the altar. Our guilt offering now is our teshuvah, seeking forgiveness from those we've wronged. In the intervening 1,953 years since the fall of the Second Temple and 177 years into our Reformed Jewish tradition, we have a well-rounded practice of ritual observance that bridges the divide, our modern korbanot. The temple was a public space, and the act of bringing one's offering to be sacrificed was a public act. This sense of community is vital to the core of who we are as Jewish people. While we place an emphasis on the personal relationship each of us have with God, there are clear obligations that we have to our community. Our modern observance allows for us to come together as a community for our communal act of contrition as we seek to be absolved from wrongdoing in the eyes of God on Yom Kippur. Our liturgy provides us with many other moments throughout the year to take a good look at our lives and gauge how effective we're living them and what we might be able to do to be better as people. Psalm also talks about offerings of well-being and free will offerings. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs proffered that the sages distilled the sacrificial rites into the analogs of prayer, study, and tzedakah. One who gives to charity brings, as it were, a financial sacrifice, acknowledging that all we have we owe to God. These three analogs are certainly central to our lives today, emphasized from the littlest learner at Beit Midrash, Temple Beth-El's religious school, to the adults heading into the bar shop on a Sunday morning for an adult education session. The worship we share together on Shabbat, where we move through our liturgy with intention, seeking to find the core of the prayer, the root concept, and hold that in our minds and hearts as we move through our services. The focus on tzedakah that we place in our lives, whether it's making a donation to a favorite organization of a loved one in their memory, or assisting with one of our B'nai Mitzvah students with their mitzvah quest by donating to their animal shelter supply drive. These analogs are certainly present and prevalent in our lives. Chapter 7, verses 15 and 16 read, "And the flesh of the thanksgiving sacrifice of well-being shall be eaten on that day that it is offered. None of it shall be set aside until morning. If, however, the sacrifice offered is a votive or a free will offering, it shall be eaten on the day that one offers the sacrifice, and what is left of it shall be eaten on the morrow." What stood out to me here is the distinction of how these two types of offerings were treated and how they were to be consumed in different ways. One to be consumed only on the day of the sacrifice, the other one you can have leftovers. 12th century commentator Abraham ibn Ezra clarifies the difference between votive and free will as the former being vows uttered by the lips when in trouble, and the latter being that one's spirit moved them to bring a sacrifice to God, not because of a vow or even thanksgiving for a specific outcome or circumstance. This free will offering, given for no real reason at all other than to commune with God, really speaks to me. I understand placing a special emphasis on making good on a promise to God, a desperate bargain made in the heat of the moment, and when you come out on the other side okay, you make good. It's the classic movie moment of, God, I promise you all X, Y, Z if you A, B, C. And it might be a little cliche, but it is important and certainly archetypal. But I love that there is also a special distinction awarded to this offering of free will. So what free will offerings do we bring today? Our support of Jewish organizations and community could be one. This could be financial support or volunteering at any of the agencies in the community. This could be the very dues that you pay as a Temple member to support the vital work our organization does, not only for our community, but for the city at large. At Temple, we operate on a give to your heart's content contribution model so that we can be as inclusive as possible. But maybe Tzav can show us that we should periodically revisit that. For the goodwill offering to God, maybe we've been blessed, we have maybe received a new job or promotion, or a situation has changed from when we first joined as members for the better. And we're in a position to show our gratitude, and that could be a great way to do it. Maybe it's a one-time donation to celebrate a simcha, or again, just because you want to show gratitude to God for the abundance of blessings in your life. Your elevation of your commitment dollars could fill the gap where someone needs to pull back on their commitment because their situation has changed for the worse. If you aren't able to make such a change in commitment monetarily, maybe you can join us somewhere. Maybe you can join us in Greeting for Services or volunteer to serve on a committee or two. There are endless opportunities to contribute and to make your goodwill and gratitude to God known by God and known by those in your community. It's when we show up that we help make the biggest impact. Your being here with us tonight helps us with our congregation's mission to provide a sacred framework that inspires people to cultivate their Jewish lives. I'm personally happy that we moved on from the sacrificial system. I think especially in our modern times, it can be difficult to understand or reconcile how such acts that seem, in my own opinion, slightly barbaric, could be required to bring us to peace and rightness with God. And while I'm certain that there was a distinct and palpable power to such rites in being present for them, I find great solace in the ways that we are accountable to God and to each other in today's age, and that our acts of loving kindness, gemilut chasidim, our avodah and tefillah, our worship and prayer, and our righteous giving, tzedakah, are all enough to fill the gap left by the sacrificial system. I can't stress enough how important our contributions to Temple are and how much they impact how we're able to fulfill our mission. Please find ways to get involved with Temple. There are a number of committees on which you can serve, including the committee I chair, the membership committee. We're in great need of greeters, and we'll be holding a greeter orientation on April 11th at 7 p.m. You can register online at tinyurl.com/tbegreeter41123. I'm sure you'll all remember that. It'll be in several places. There are so many ways to connect with Temple, and if you're having trouble finding the spot that you feel like you fit in best, let's talk. I'd be happy to connect you with the right group so your specific skills and talents can benefit the community. If you have the ability to give thought to your financial commitment amount at Temple, please do. It's an easy thing to set and forget, but it is so absolutely vital to operate and maintain our space, to be able to provide our members with a beautiful, well-maintained space to worship, a place to come together for community celebrations and education, and the space that your children and, God willing, grandchildren will grow up in and grow to love in their own right. Our sustaining level of commitment is just a bit more than $3,000 annually per family unit, and that's just for us to break even between facility costs, payroll for our amazing team of professionals and custodial staff, and our brilliant clergy who bring so much to our lives week after week. If you have the room, the space, or the desire, contact Temple about updating your commitment. Let your sacrifice of well-being be felt by those here today and future generations. If you're not in the position of being able to reevaluate your financial commitment now, you can also consider a legacy gift. Temple participates with the Life and Legacy program, and you can designate Temple as a recipient of proceeds from your estate to create an enduring legacy at Temple Beth-El and support our future generations, to make sure that our mission is carried door by door from generation to generation. If none of that is an option, just show up. Show up to worship on Friday nights and on Saturday mornings. Join us at Advocacy combined with Tikkun Olam, our ACT committee, and help plan our social advocacy work. Join us at Torah study on Saturday mornings here in person or Wednesdays online. Join Sisterhood or Brotherhood and participate. And just a quick shout out for Sisterhood's We Care project this year is going to be a citywide effort within the Jewish community to help with the Period project, collecting any and all sanitary products for women and girls. The opportunities are endless for us to fulfill our communal obligations and make our modern sacrificial offering to God, a sacrifice of time, of love, of effort and energy, and to the extent that we're able, of money. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue with Aleinu, page 283. Please rise.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. As we turn to our memorial meditation on page 289, we note with sadness the death of Annette Sapiro, mother of Harriet and David Oppenheimer, grandmother of Rebecca and Scott Nathan, Daniel Oppenheimer and Laura Gross, and Jacob Oppenheimer, great-grandmother of Libby and Lyle Nathan. Funeral services will take place this Sunday in Atlanta. We also note with sadness the death of Lee Benjamin, husband of Lourdes Benjamin, father of Adrian Benjamin, brother of Todd and Sonia Benjamin, and Peter and Stacy Benjamin, and uncle to many nieces and nephews. A memorial service will take place at a later date. We also note with sadness the death of Rabbi Ed Zarin, cousin of Audrey Hankin and Roxanne Hankin and Mary Lou Doherty. Services will be held next week in California. We also note with sadness the death of Barbara Alper, cousin of Audrey Hankin and Roxanne Hankin and Mary Lou Doherty. Services will be held next week in California. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community. As we remember those who have died at this time in years past, we mark their yard sites. We remember Murray Ackerman, Jack Alter, Leora Timon Arbetter, Julius August, Ann Belden, Betty Benson, Kirk Bergman, Albert Burler, Saul Bernstein, Anna Law Block, Edgar Gerhard Max Ernst Brandt, Joanne Bronstein, June Britton, Bob Brook, Bernard Dave Cohen, Ruth Cohen, Henry Coleman, Margaret Herman Cooper, Charlotte Fagan Dahl, Harold Danielson, Beatrice Davis, Arnold S. Eisenstein, Bobby Felker, Howard Ferguson, Rosalind Charlack Fink, Dina Fisher, Lester Fisher, Hazel Flax, Faye Betty Forland, Clarice Golden, Marcus Gorin, Betty Green, Marjorie Pepler Halstead, James Harris, Eli Hoffman, Ethel B. Horner, Rose Chosick Jacobson, John Carl, Estelle Katz, Dorothy Kaufman, Jack Kaufman, Reuben Kern, Dr. Ralph Kustoff, Lyda Vexler Landy, Rose Lewis, Catherine Margolis, Stacy Marin de la Grana, Ben Mendez, Joan Myers, Marjorie Green Patterson, Celine Moritz Peck, Mildred Wallach Pollock, Joseph Portnoy, Harriet Prager, Rose Rose, Carol Rosenblatt, Samuel Rosenstein, Forrest Paul Rosette, Jerry Rawson, Philip Joshua Sarkotoff, Evelyn Schulman, Max Serrata, Sherry Sherman, Arthur Smith, Stuart Steinman, Hanan Swift, Bill Tradlier, Jean Ute, Charlotte Weingart, and Dr. Elliot Wesser. To these names, we add those who've been laid to their eternal rest in the past 30 days, whose family and friends are in a mourning period of Shloshim. Remember Stanley Friedman, Kathy Peterson, and Abraham Langbaum. We also remember one who is laid to their eternal rest this week. Remember Harriet Susser Sowell, sister of Susan Susser and Albert McCall, aunt of Dana and Jim Half, great aunt of Josh and Daniel Half. To all of these names, we add those which are in our hearts each and every day as we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divrach v'yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv, imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, u'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to call forward Jim Barshop, member of our Board of Trustees, to deliver tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Aren't services relaxing? Okay, I want to thank everyone. We're so glad you could join us in our sanctuary this evening in your own sacred space. Thank you to Sarah Rowley for lighting candles. Nice to meet you. Here are some upcoming events at Temple Beth-El. Passover begins Wednesday, April 5th at sundown. First day festival worship service will be Thursday, April 6th at 10:30 in the morning. Our community Seder will be at 6 p.m. that same evening. The deadline to sign up for Seder is tomorrow, April 1st at noon. Last day Passover festival worship service with Yiskor Memorial Payers are on Wednesday, April 12th at 10:30 a.m. As a reminder, the temple offices will be closed both the first and last days of the holiday. Alan Marinis, please save the weekend of April 28th through 30th for a weekend of Musar exploration with Dr. Alan Marinis. This will be an exploration of Jewish ideas about how the disrespect or respect that we show others impacts our relationships, our families, our communities, and our own souls. For more information, please visit the upcoming events page on the temple website. Rachel Stern, our Sunday Scholar series continues on April 16th with the wonderful Rachel Stern. Her topic of discussion will be, as Reformed Jews, are we still a commanded people? For more information, please visit the Visiting Scholars page on the Temple website. Everything going on at Temple is listed on our website calendar in our weekly email, which arrives in your inbox every 4 p.m. every Thursday. I want to thank Corey for that really, really inspiring and insightful davar. Corey, could you just reiterate really loud that URL one more time, please?
The date.
41123. There we go. Thank you. Have a sweet and joyous Passover.
Our closing song is Ein Keloheinu on page 339. Please rise.
It's actually 322.
Okay, 322.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemokeinu, ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemokeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Elokeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Mokeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Mokeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Shabbat Shalom and Zis and Pesach.